World leaders are standing up to Donald Trump and making a powerful statement. Donald Trump looking weaker than ever. Earlier this week, you had Ukraine meet with European world leaders in a coalition of the willing meeting called by French President Emmanuel Macron in France. Arising out of that meeting, solidarity between Ukraine and European leaders, as well as Canada, Australia, and elsewhere. Here's what the Kyiv Independent is reporting. Ukraine won't sign a minerals deal with the U.S. if it threatens EU membership, Zelensky says. Zelensky knows he has real, true, reliable friends in Europe, Canada, Australia, and not in the United States. Ukraine will not sign a mineral deal with the U.S. if it threatens its ascension to the European Union, Zelensky said earlier this week. Zelensky's remarks came a day after details of a new alleged draft mineral agreement between Kyiv and Washington emerged. The Financial Times were the first to report on March 27th that the latest version of the agreement proposed by the U.S. includes terms that would grant Washington unprecedented control over Ukraine's natural resources through a joint investment fund. One of the things we've always been saying here at the MeidasTouch Network, Donald Trump's view of a deal with Putin was Donald Trump and Putin carving up Ukraine. Donald Trump wanted a sovereign wealth fund. He wants to steal Ukraine's rare earth minerals and then give the rest of Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. In my opinion, that's what's going on. As Jay in Kyiv writes, Putin basically had Trump design the new mineral deal so that it keeps Ukraine in debt, broke, and out of the EU, while the U.S. offers no assistance. Well, Europe was not letting that happen. Whether it was French President Emmanuel Macron, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, or others, a coalition of the willing uniting and saying, we've got your back, Ukraine. Zelensky posted the following this week. During the leaders' meeting in France on support for Ukraine, I emphasized that the war is still ongoing and it's only happening because of Russia, whose position is simple. Keep the war going, keep attacking, and delay diplomacy. Zelensky's right. Ukraine has agreed to an unconditional full ceasefire. Putin has not. In fact, I'll show you in a little bit what Putin is saying. Putin wants to ramp up his attacks on Ukraine, especially targeting civilians. I'm going to show you Putin saying it in his own words. Donald Trump clearly unable to have any positive impact on negotiations. In fact, making matters much worse and basically just amplifying what Putin wants to say. But let me share with you what came out of this powerful meeting between the coalition of the willing in Europe and Zelensky. Here is French President Emmanuel Macron from this meeting. Let's play it.
I want to be very clear this evening. Russia cannot have a say on the support we provide and will provide to Ukraine, nor can it dictate the terms of this lasting peace, because it is a matter of Ukraine's sovereignty and the security of all Europeans. Mr. President, dear Volodymyr, receiving you this evening is once again a privilege for us. You embody the resistance of a people who refuse to yield to the unacceptable, to brute force, or to the fait accompli. And this resistance commands the respect of all Europeans. It commands the respect of the French people, because we also know that it concerns our security. That is why you can count, and will be able to count, on the support and commitment of France by your side. Because Ukraine deserves peace, and for having seen you here on October 3rd, 2019, in a discussion at the time with President Putin and Chancellor Merkel, I saw how much these two, you fought to preserve that peace. I will not allow certain people to rewrite history in any way. There is only one aggressor. There is only one resistor. The aggressor is Russia. The resistor is you. And Europeans, like Americans, have no other choice than that of their history, respecting international law and respecting their own security. Thank you for being here, and we will be here too.
Here's another clip. By the way, I translated what he said in AI. That's not actually his voice. It's an AI rendition of his voice, so you can hear what he said. To our French audience, sorry that you heard that, but I want our English-speaking audience to hear what he said. Here's French President Emmanuel Macron also saying, look, we're going to commit troops and forces also in any peace deal to provide security guarantees for Ukraine. We're not going to trust Russia. We know that they want to take over Europe next. Play this clip.
And the Ukrainian army and the reassurance forces today, Russia opposes it. Since Russia has always said that it did not even want a Ukrainian army. So I assure you there is no agreement from Russia. I also assure you our view of international law is that it is not Russia that will decide what happens on Ukrainian territory. So it's officially recognized. And we will move forward and work on it. And so there will indeed be a reassurance force with several European countries deploying.
And then here's what Zelensky said. Let's play it.
We agreed to urgently hold a meeting in Ukraine within a week in a small circle, representatives of the general staffs of the main countries who will definitely be ready for a contingent on the territory of Ukraine. France, Britain, Ukraine will definitely be there. This is, let's say, a kind of triangle in this matter.
Let me show you what British Prime Minister Keir Starmer had to say, and he makes it clear. As we've always been saying, Ukraine wants peace. They've agreed. No conditions, ceasefire, we're ready to go. On the other hand, Putin says, we'll do no ceasefire, or maybe we'll do a ceasefire where we just don't attack energy infrastructure. And then what does Putin and Russia do? Attack energy infrastructure while Ukraine goes along with a ceasefire. So it's more of the same when it comes to Putin. Here, play this clip of Prime Minister Starmer.
And it's now obviously over 2 weeks since Ukraine agreed to an immediate 30-day ceasefire. That offer is still unanswered. It's over a week since Putin agreed to an energy and infrastructure ceasefire. But since then, Russia has hit energy infrastructure in cities across Ukraine. They've increased their bombardment, firing over 1,000 long-range drones at the country, hitting Ukrainian homes, schools and hospitals, with widespread civilian casualties.
I'm sure many of you know I'm a new dad. I have a 6-month-old daughter. And so I got to do some important planning for my family. And I got to make sure that my life insurance plan is something that's going to keep them protected and give me the peace of mind. That's why I go to Policy Genius. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. Look, I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from our audience based on my prior recommendations of Policy Genius. Feels good personally to know that I'm protecting my family from, whatever unexpected things may happen. And, I've had such a seamless experience using Policy Genius and hearing from their experts who guided me through the process. I think that you are going to, also find a very positive experience as well. You're going to be able to compare quotes from America's top insurers side by side for free with no hidden fees. As I mentioned, they've got a licensed support team that's going to help you get what you need fast so you can get on with your life. And they answer questions. They handle the paperwork. They make it really easy for you. Life insurance is a form of financial planning, and I think it's something we all need to be focused on, even if sometimes the conversation can be a bit uncomfortable. It's very important, and I highly recommend you do what I did. So secure your families tomorrow so you have the peace of mind today. Head to policygenius.com/Meidas or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. Again, go to policygenius.com/Meidas. That's policygenius.com/Meidas, Meidas. And I guess you can say it was a 1-2 punch from Europe as well as from Canada, when Prime Minister Carney made it very clear the relationship with the United States as we used to know it is done. You've disrespected us. We have moved on. This is what Prime Minister Carney said earlier this week as Trump slapped Canada and the rest of the world with 25% tariffs on auto. Play this clip.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians. We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere. And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
Now, one thing I want you to notice, though, is the tonal change of Donald Trump when you confront him, when you beat back on the bully. So remember, earlier in the week, Donald Trump said the following: if the European Union works with Canada in order to do economic harm to the USA, large-scale tariffs, far larger than currently planned, will be placed on them both in order to protect the best friend that each of those two countries ever had. In other words, I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down. But the European house, the Canadian house, is built of a very powerful stone. One might say built of powerful rare earth minerals that you, Trump regime, are never going to get your hands on. So after Europe stood up to Donald Trump, after you show strength to Donald Trump, because he's a little weak, pathetic weasel, what does Donald Trump do? He's like, oh crap, Canada, Europe, they're strengthening their ties. They don't need us. I'm tanking the United States economy and they're strengthening their economies. I thought this tariff thing was going to work. I thought if I huffed and I puffed, I'd blow their house down and they would be scared of me. No, Donald, everyone knows you're a weak, pathetic loser. Then Donald Trump posts the following: I just finished speaking. This was later in the week. I just finished speaking with Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada. It was an extremely productive call. We agree on many things, and we will be meeting immediately after Canada's upcoming election to work on elements of politics, business, and all other factors that will end up being great for both the United States of America and Canada. Thank you for your attention to this matter! Explanation point. In the typical form of an abuser, and I know Prime Minister Carney knows this, and leaders across the world and in Canada see how Donald Trump's abusive behavior works, right? Threats, threats, threats. Then you stand up to him, and then he's like, oh, let's be friends. Let's be nice. Threats, threats, threats. You can never trust what he says. He is a cornered rat and behaves as such. By the way, no offense to cornered rats. So Putin sees Europe showing strength and pushing back against Trump. So what does Putin do? He knows that he's got to psychologically, mess with Donald Trump now as well. So then Putin says the U.S. push for Greenland is rooted in history and vows to uphold Russian interest in the Arctic. So Putin then's basically like, hey, Donald, remember when we agreed to spheres of influence and we're going to carve up the world? We're going to give you Greenland, big guy. Remember, we're going to give you Greenland. And by the way, J.D. Vance went to Greenland on a military base there in Greenland, and he did not leave the military base. By the way, while he was attacking Denmark, which the Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, because not a single Greenlander would invite J.D. Vance into their home. So while J.D. Vance was there, this is what Putin was saying. Then this is a video that Putin cut this week. And in this video, Putin says, this doesn't exactly sound like someone who wants peace. He says, we want to destroy Ukraine. We've withdrawn from negotiations, which they never were in the first place. We're preparing for a summer military campaign, and he believes he can significantly improve Russia's military position, not going to end the war. And his statement yesterday about how he will crush Ukraine and put it under external control. He literally says, we're going to crush Ukraine. So to be I want to show you the raw videos so you can see for yourself. Zelensky wants peace. Putin wants war, blood, genocide, and wants to then take over Europe. Here, play this clip.
I myself recently said we will press them. There is reason to believe that we will finish them off. I think that realization should come within the Ukrainian people themselves. As for our armed forces, they are gaining momentum and are acting more and more effectively.
As expected as well, a Stratcom Center says, Russia has merely used the pretext of a ceasefire on energy infrastructure to further destroy Ukraine's energy networks while Ukraine stands down, abiding by the agreement. Every agreement to which Russians are a party is just another tool for their global terrorism. Oh, by the way, remember when I mentioned J.D. Vance and Usha Vance going to Greenland? Well, they didn't actually leave the military base. So here, though, is J.D. and Usha Vance pretending to wave to absolutely nobody in Greenland since nobody wants them there. The crowd goes wild. Sarcastically here, play this clip. Now, I want to share this with you as well. Conservative member of parliament who's also chairing one of the key defense committees in Denmark, Rasmus Jarlov, he went on CNN and he explained why it is that when America attacks Greenland and attacks its sovereignty, why this needs to be taken so seriously. This is a Denmark conservative member of parliament. Here, play this clip.
And there is no big threats against Greenland except for hostile American takeover.
And then finally, here is J.D. Vance from his Greenland bizarre press conference where he attacks Denmark. Let's play it.
And now I want to talk about, of course, the interaction and what Denmark, I think, has done, and sometimes in partnership with us. But let's be honest, what Denmark over the last 20 years has failed to do in some cases, because we know that unfortunately this place, this base, the surrounding area is less secure than it was 30, 40 years ago because some of our allies haven't kept up. As China and Russia have taken greater and greater interest in Greenland, in this base, in the activities of the brave Americans right here, we know that too often our allies in Europe have not kept pace. They haven't kept pace with military spending, and Denmark has not kept pace in devoting the resources necessary to keep this base, to keep our troops, and in my view, to keep the people of Greenland safe from a lot of very aggressive incursions from Russia, from China, and from other nations. Now, President Trump, as he says...
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe, and let's get to 5 million subscribers. Just want to keep you updated on all the global developments. Thanks for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.